Is Jungkook really smiling on stage while his heart is breaking behind the scenes? What secret storm follows him on his world tour? And why are ARMY crying over a conflict that never seems to end? What if everything you thought you knew about Jungkook's world tour was only half the story? What if behind the fireworks, the cheers, and the blinding lights, there was a shadow that refused to disappear? Before you read any further, ask yourself this. Are you ready to face a truth that might change the way you see Jungkook forever? If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so your voice becomes part of this emotional journey, because your words might be the echo he needs to hear. They cried. Not the soft kind of crying that fades quietly, but the kind that shakes your chest, that leaves your eyes burning and your heart heavy. Around the world, ARMY felt it at the same time, as if an invisible signal had been sent straight into their souls. Jungkook was going on a world tour, something that should have been pure celebration, pure joy, pure triumph. But instead of only smiles, there were tears. Instead of only excitement, there was fear. Instead of only pride, there was a deep question that refused to be silenced. Why does it feel like he is walking forward while something dark keeps pulling him back? Jungkook stood on stage during a recent appearance, his voice strong, his presence glowing, his smile familiar. Yet some fans said they saw something different in his eyes. Not weakness, not fear exactly, but a kind of quiet weight, as if he was carrying a story he could not tell out loud. He sang like always, danced like always, laughed like always, but ARMY felt it. They always do. They felt that something was unfinished, unresolved, still burning quietly somewhere behind the curtains. Rumors had never truly stopped following him, but this time they felt heavier. Whispers about unresolved problems with his agency, HYBE, moved through fan communities like a cold wind. No official statement, no clear explanation, just fragments of stories, strange timing, awkward silences, and moments that felt slightly off. And when Jungkook announced his world tour, the joy came mixed with anxiety. Was this tour a celebration of freedom or a beautiful distraction from a wound that never healed? ARMY remembered how it all started. Years of hard work, sacrifice, endless practice rooms, bruised bodies, tired eyes, and dreams that seemed too big for a small boy with a shy smile. Jungkook had grown in front of the world, from a nervous teenager into a global star. HYBE had been part of that journey, shaping him, supporting him, but also controlling many parts of his life. Fans were grateful, but they were not blind. They knew that success always comes with a price. The question was, had Jungkook paid too much? Some fans began to connect dots that might not even be meant to connect. They noticed schedules that changed suddenly. They noticed projects that felt delayed without clear reasons. They noticed interviews where Jungkook chose his words very carefully, as if each sentence had to pass through an invisible filter. He was polite, respectful, always grateful, but sometimes there was a pause before he spoke, a tiny silence that felt louder than any answer. When news of the world tour spread, social media exploded. This is his moment, people said. He deserves this, others cried. But mixed in the excitement were messages filled with worry. Is he okay? Why does he look tired even when he smiles? Is he really happy, or is he just being strong for us? These were not haters. These were fans who loved him deeply, fans who had grown with him, fans who felt like they knew the language of his heart. Jungkook himself spoke about the tour as a dream coming true. He said he wanted to meet ARMY everywhere, to sing for them, to feel their energy. His words were warm, sincere, and full of love. But love sometimes hides pain. And that is what made ARMY cry. Because they could feel that he was giving everything to them, maybe even the parts of himself that needed rest. Behind the scenes, stories about unresolved tension with HYBE continued to float quietly. No one could point to one clear moment where everything went wrong. It was more like a slow buildup of pressure. Creative differences, control over music, personal freedom, schedules that never seemed to slow down. These are normal issues in the entertainment industry, but when they involve someone as loved as Jungkook, they become emotional for millions. Some fans believed that HYBE wanted to shape his solo image in a certain way, while Jungkook wanted to explore his own colors. Others believed the problem was simply exhaustion, that years of non-stop work had finally reached a point where the body and heart were begging for space. And then there were those who believed something deeper was happening, something that neither side wanted to speak about publicly. Every silence created more questions. Every smile created more curiosity. Every performance created more admiration, but also more concern. When Jungkook stood alone on stage during a solo performance, the cheers were deafening, but so were the tears in the crowd. People cried not because he was bad, but because he was too good, because he gave too much, because they were afraid one day there would be nothing left for him to give. One fan said online, "I don't want him to be strong for us. I want him to be happy for himself." That sentence spread quickly, touching hearts everywhere. Because it said what many were afraid to admit. Sometimes fans' love can also become a kind of pressure. They want to see him shine, but they don't want his light to burn him. The world tour moved forward, city by city, country by country. Each show was a storm of sound and emotion. Jungkook sang songs about love, longing, freedom, and pain. And people wondered, were these just lyrics, or were they pieces of his own story? When he sang about feeling trapped, some fans looked at each other with wet eyes. When he sang about wanting to run, people held their breath. When he sang about finding light again, the crowd cried like they were praying. In some moments, Jungkook spoke directly to the audience. He thanked them for waiting, for believing, for loving him no matter what. He said that their faces gave him strength. But then he added something small, something easy to miss. He said that sometimes strength is not enough. He said sometimes you need understanding too. That one sentence shook many fans more than any rumor ever could. What did he mean? Understanding from whom? From the industry? From his company? From himself? ARMY began to talk about it more openly. They didn't accuse. They didn't attack. They asked questions. They asked for clarity. They asked for honesty. They asked for Jungkook to be protected, not just as an artist, but as a human being. They wanted HYBE to listen, not just manage. They wanted peace, not conflict, but peace is not something you can force. It grows slowly, through conversation, respect, and courage. And no one knew what was happening behind closed doors. Maybe there were talks. Maybe there were arguments. Maybe there were tears that no camera would ever see. All the world could see was the result, a superstar walking into the brightest stage of his life, while carrying shadows that refused to leave. Some nights, after shows, fans shared videos of Jungkook leaving the venue. He waved, smiled, bowed, and thanked everyone. But his steps looked heavy. Or maybe that was just what worried fans wanted to see. Still, when you love someone, even imagination can hurt you. There were also moments of hope. Jungkook laughed on stage, joked with fans, played with the crowd. He looked alive, playful, warm. In those moments, ARMY told themselves, see? He is okay. He is happy. And maybe he really was, at least for those moments. But happiness can come and go, especially when you are standing in the middle of a storm. The story of Jungkook and HYBE, whatever it truly is, has become more than a business issue. It has become emotional. It has become personal. Because millions of people have grown up with his voice in their ears.